Do you ever think it's weird how the letter J is pronounced completely differently in every language? Even in English we can't seem to figure it out, because usually it's a J sound, unless you're talking about Dijon mustard, fjords, or jalapenos. Now granted, those are all loan words from French, Norwegian, and Spanish, respectively, but the question still stands. How did we get to Dijon, fjord, and jalapeno? Well, see, the letter J started out as just a fancy version of the letter I. Both of those letters originally just made an E sound, but going into medieval times, people started using the J letter to represent the E sound when it was at the beginning of a word, and especially when that E sound glided into another vowel, like Julius. As the centuries passed, the letter I and the letter J were distinguished more and more frequently. This letter came to typically represent the vowel E, whereas this letter came to represent the consonant Y. And if you're thinking those sound like exactly the same, well, you'd be right. The consonant y, also known as a voiced palatal approximant, is what we usually spell with a Y in English, but it's really just the semi-vowel equivalent of the vowel E. How those sounds are defined, as well as how they change over the course of a language's history, are dependent on the context of the sounds around it. Now, the reason that the consonant y is called an approximant is because when you make it, your tongue approaches your palate, but it doesn't quite touch it. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Now, the reason that that letter J is so unpredictable is that that y sound has evolved in a bunch of different ways in a bunch of different languages. In French, Portuguese, and Romanian, that y sound ended up evolving into a y sound. It was because of the influence of French that Middle English scribes started to use the letter J to transcribe the j sound, which isn't the j sound, but it's close enough. If you're curious, the j sound used to be written like this, but Middle English scribes famously hated joy and whimsy. In Spanish, on the other hand, that y sound evolved into Now, unlike English, a lot of the other Germanic languages that adapted the Latin alphabet stuck with using the letter J for the y sound. And the same is true for many other non-Romance and even non-Indo-European languages. That being said, a lot of other languages that have adapted the Latin alphabet have ended up using the letter J for a variety of other sounds, considering there's not really one canon way to pronounce it. In some languages it's j, in some languages it's zh, in some languages it's y, in some languages it's ch, but deep down, it's whatever you want it to be. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know if there's any other letters you'd like me to talk about, and have a great rest of your J.